Before we begin, I want to gently share this with you. Every interview you hear in this podcast is shared exactly as it was spoken. These are people's truths, their memories, their pain, their healing, and their perspective. Their words belong to them. What they share does not always reflect my views or the views of our team, but it is their lived experience. And on this platform, they are allowed to speak it in full, and we hold space for them here, with respect, compassion, and the understanding that every voice carries its own truth. Thank you for listening, and welcome to Black Jonestown.
They say their name, let the truth be known. Black roots deep in sacred stone. Not forgotten, not alone. This is the story of Black Jonestown. We lift the voices.
Welcome to Black Jonestown. In this episode, we explore a powerful question. What were people truly searching for? Before the tragedy, thousands came to People's Temple seeking healing, justice, community, and a sense of wholeness. Jim Jones recognized that longing and he exploited it. Today, we hear from someone who lived that search firsthand, Janet Shular. She entered People's Temple hoping to help others and to make a difference. What she found and what she ultimately chose to walk away from changed the course of her life. She is the longest living former People's Temple member today at the age of 85. This is the search for wholeness. Let us begin. Janet, thank you so much for honoring us to hear your story on Black Jonestown. I know that you rarely do interviews, so we are truly honored to have you and to hear your incredible story. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's begin with how you were introduced to People's Temple.
Well, I was an activist, and as a young child, my mother took me to a meeting in 1952 where I met W.E.B. Du Bois, and I was always aware of civil rights and the need for equality and justice in our society, because it's something that my family talked about a lot and stressed. My maiden name was Loudon, and my father was a minister in the African American Episcopal Church. So I had a lot of exposure during Sunday school activities and groups that focused on Black history and the struggle for equality among African American people.
So you were fortunate enough to, number one, to meet Marcus Garvey. You were fortunate enough to meet W.E. Du Bois. That had to be amazing. And
Yes.
you grew up in a family that was already conscious of the Black struggle. And they
Yes.
talked about that. Even your father as a pastor, that was part of his sermons, I would assume. So you were
Yes.
already on the road, on the path to understanding the Black struggle.
Yes. And when I graduated from college, my first teaching position was in Gary, Indiana. And it was at a period of time where a lot of people were being laid off and losing their jobs in the steel mills because of the introduction of automation.
I see.
Up until when I went to Gary in 1961, they had used the old Bessemer process for doing steel, and they had 3 shifts. I personally went through one of the steel mills, and they were doing one shift with under 100 people. So the process put many, many African Americans out of work in Gary. And as a kindergarten teacher, I saw a lot of poverty among the children. So that was just one step out into the world and looking at it. Later, I moved to Washington, D.C., and that's where I taught school in Maryland. And I saw an incredible amount of poverty and lack of health care. So my conscious awareness of the struggle was ongoing. And then in 1963, I was living in Washington, and I was able to celebrate with the Martin Luther King March on Washington.
Amazing.
And I always say that Jim Jones did not rise out of just a vacuum. It was the overall social climate.
That's right.
For people to feel a sense of hopelessness, to feel betrayed by their government.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for me personally, it was a journey that progressed from there on.
What an amazing experience you had already. So when you how did you come to People's Temple? How were you introduced to People's Temple?
Well, I worked very hard in Maryland, and then I went back to school, and instead of, I discovered, well, first grade's too late. Some of these kids are already 6.
Mm.
I went into early childhood education, child development, took classes at Howard University, and was hired by an agency called National Capital Area Child Daycare Association, where I opened 5 daycare centers in Washington. And I worked so hard that I finally took a vacation, and not knowing anyone really, I went to California on that book, California on $5 a day, which is obsolete, obviously.
Right.
So that was my exposure. It was on that trip I met my first husband, had a rapid romance courtship, and later, when he came to the East Coast, we married and moved back to California. So that was another experience about social justice. Angela Davis, Huey Newton, the Black Panther Party.
Right.
There were lots of factors there.
Right.
And eventually I came upon People's Temple.
Now, when you came up on People's Temple, were you in Los Angeles or San Francisco?
San Francisco.
San Francisco. So you went to San Francisco Temple. How old were you at this point?
30. I was 30 years old.
Mm-hmm. And so with your activism, with your background in social justice, you're an educator, a professional educated woman who cared about children enough to know where to start, which is preschool, basically, right? Early education. What impressed you about People's Temple and Jim Jones when you first arrived?
Well, I was definitely attracted to the social justice message. And at that point in time in my life, at a personal level, I was looking for something that offered more stability. I'd had a failed marriage. I was a single woman. In that day and time, 30 and single was not the most desirable position to be in. So I was really attracted to the sense of belonging and family and camaraderie. And of course, as I said, this just social justice message.
Right, right. And so you were feeling a little alone, a little by yourself, and you come into People's Temple, and I know they greet you, they love on you, and you hear these messages which absolutely aligned with what you already had been living, a living person that was actually using and understanding these situations and the condition of Black Americans and in America at that time. So you were impressed and you joined, and what were you in any committees? Were you on committees, or what was your active role in People's Temple?
Well, very on. I really enjoyed working in the kitchen,
Mhm.
and it was just real tactile, and I enjoyed doing that. And I did that some, but early on, I was asked to be a greeter, and that is people who stand at the door and welcome and greet people who come in.
Mhm. And so when you were a greeter, um, you just met and greeted people. Did you ask them questions, or did you find out, gather
Yes,
information about them?
yes, we asked, how'd you find out about us and what brings you out today? And obviously, depending on the crowd flow,
Mhm.
early on, a lot of people would come in large groups, and you just basically smiling and welcoming them.
Mhm.
As let's say it started at 11, it'd be really crowded until about 12:30. Then as it slowed down, you could have more personal time with each person that entered. And I really enjoyed that, meeting the people as they came in. Sometimes I recognized people from around the city.
Okay.
Um, I did that for quite a while, and I actually I was there. I left there in 1997. So I was there from for 7 years,
Mhm.
and I was a greeter really, I would say a good 6 of those 7 years.
Did you find, and the greeters were important because they're the ones, that's the first face you see when you walk into People's Temple is a greeter, right?
Yes.
It is a position where you're loving people and just really welcoming them. And I think welcoming them, I'm sorry. And I think that's one things that pretty much anyone I talked to, they say when they came in, they were greeted, they were loved upon, and that was that welcoming, that first impression. That was the first impression of People's Temple. So when you were a greeter, were you required to take personal information down from the members?
No, I wasn't. Initially,
Mhm.
it was just, a warm social greeting. Later, I was never asked to literally write anything, but there were people that I would, I thought of in my mind sort of like investigators. They would come to you and ask you about a person that they saw you talking to and ask you to tell them what you had observed or what they had told you. Um, I want to back up just a tiny bit. When I lived in San Francisco, I also managed 5 Head Start centers,
Did you?
and yes, uh, in the Western Addition area,
Mhm.
and I had a teacher's aide at one of my centers who had different things that she liked to talk to me about personally. And one time she told me that her mother had been to a rally, a meeting, and about this man named Jim Jones. And I just took it with a grain of salt. But she felt a need to hear him speak again. He had spoken in San Francisco when her mother heard him.
Mhm.
Well, eventually, she didn't have a car, and she was a single mom. She had one son, and she was always very worried about him for different reasons.
Mm.
Well, eventually, she convinced me to drive her to a meeting in Redwood Valley.
Oh, goodness.
Now, I had traveled around,
Mhm.
I've been up, Heavenly Valley skiing, other places, but usually with other people. And I'd never really driven a lot up north, uh, but, no further than maybe Sausalito.
Mhm.
But one Sunday morning, we we decided we would go,
Mhm.
and I didn't want to go blind. So I made a phone call, and Jim answered the phone.
Oh, goodness.
And I just asked, "Are you having service today? And what time?" And his voice was very profound.
What do you say?
I have no other word for it. And he said, "Yes, we welcome you. Please come." That was, unusual for me on a Sunday morning about 7 o'clock.
Mhm.
But either way, then I called her, said, "Yep, we're going."
Okay.
And we did. And I continued to go, but she quit
Oh,
going.
she did. Was it so you were in charge of 5 daycare centers, right? Pre daycare centers. When you
Head Start.
And when you met this woman, had you been in the temple already?
No, I hadn't been there.
Oh, interesting.
That's why I backed up to like how I really went.
Okay. Oh, interesting. So she was supposed to go, but she changed. So you both went together, right?
Yes.
And then you came back.
And we went several times together.
Mhm.
And then she decided she didn't want to go
Okay.
anymore,
That's a long drive from San Francisco to River Valley
especially on an early Sunday
on a Sunday
morning.
morning. Did you ever spend the
Yes.
night at somebody's house? Like, did you stay overnight for a weekend and sleep with?
It was about a year, but eventually I did spend the night with Bob and Phyllis Houston.
Okay. All right. Okay. And so that was your introduction. So you were in the River Valley Temple.
Yes.
And what were you? So you grew up did you consider yourself religious? Did you or do you consider yourself religious then?
I think that for many years, even before then, I considered myself spiritual.
Okay. All right. All right.
As opposed to religious.
And so, okay, thank you. Thank you for that. And so the message from Jim Jones, because we didn't have, it really wasn't a church because we didn't have, we didn't have Bible study. We didn't have, Sunday school. We didn't study scripture. We didn't study the Bible. So a lot of people I know were attracted because of the social message, right? Because of the social message. And so you kept going back and forth to River Valley. And how did you end up, so you're already in San Francisco, right? And when the temple moved down to San Francisco, basically that was the new headquarters. Were you living alone or did you end up in a commune or what did that?
Well, prior to the temple, moving to the temple in San Francisco, prior to Jim making that decision,
Mhm.
I lived in San Francisco and worked, and I had an apartment there, and I had offered to help support a women's home, a home for young women.
Nice.
So I went in with my sister friend, who we knew one another a little in San Francisco, and I knew something of her life there. That she decided to move to the valley, and I went in with her. We rented a house and furnished it. And I maintained a room there where I would go up on Friday and spend the night until either Sunday night or early Monday morning. But the house was also used for a lot of other reasons why women might be coming there. Maybe to escape some kind of abuse, or maybe they had been released from prison, or they were seeking drug rehab, whatever. And the whole house was available, except, well, they did use my room, but I tried to keep it for mine.
Right.
And then other women moved in permanently. Kathy Trop, Jean Brown, people moved in, and I continued to commute. In the meantime, more and more people were going from San Francisco, and I had formed a very close, friendly relationship with Liz Foreman, David Shular, Joyce Shaw, people around my same age who lived and worked in San Francisco but went up on the weekends.
So I want to recap because I never knew this. So you had a almost like a women's shelter
Yes.
in Redwood Valley.
And Laura Johnston managed that.
Okay, in Redwood Valley?
Yes.
I didn't know that. I didn't know. That's amazing.
Yes.
That's amazing.
It was not begun under anything having to do with the church per se, but on our own, and then, we made it available.
So you've always been a person to serve because back then, I mean, Mom she had brought someone in from Nicaragua who was pregnant at a teenager and stayed with us for a while. But you've always had that servant spirit. I can see how People's Temple appealed to you, like so many others.
Mhm.
You were definitely living the life that we talked about, service of others.
It was an organized way of contributing.
Right. Well, it worked. I'm sure you helped
Yeah.
many, many people, many women. And so that's so critical. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't know that. So when the temple finally moved to San Francisco, right? When they made that basically it became the headquarters.
Yes, was that 1970?
I want to say it was 1974,
4.
1973,
That's what I'm
74.
thinking. 4. Yes.
Because Jakari was born in 75. 73, 74.
I think 74.
Mhm.
They opened. Now before they opened the San Francisco temple. Now, let me say this. Yes, I was a greeter, but I was often called on for what this term is quite misleading and yet revealing all at one time. Called on for special missions.
Oh, what did that include?
Any different things.
Okay.
Let's just say one of them was to serve on a committee to find a building in San Francisco. So I participated in many meetings with people. We looked very closely at a hotel owned by an East Indian group. And I keep thinking it was in the Tenderloin, but I don't recall exactly. We met with different management groups and investment groups that were looking to sell a large building like a hotel or an apartment building.
Okay, so this would have been for the members. You're looking for a building for the members to live in.
Yeah. Well, no,
No?
not as a living, but as a temple.
Oh, okay.
This is before we purchased. This is the search for a church building.
Because before that, we were meeting at Burbank Junior High School.
Benjamin Franklin.
I'm sorry, thank you. Benjamin Franklin High School. Right, junior high
Yes,
school.
we were meeting at
Right.
Benjamin. Yes.
Okay, so you were on the committee to try to find an actual building to
Right.
purchase for the church.
Yes, and we did finally found it.
And
it came through what I would have to, I'll use this word from time to time if it doesn't offend you. It came through what I would call underground connections with the Muslim community.
Okay. All right. All right. Because the Nation of Islam was right next door on Geary Street.
It was next door.
I see.
Definitely.
So
they'd be walking to their services and we'd be walking to ours, and there was complete harmony, no conflict whatsoever.
And that wonderful bakery right there.
Say it again.
That wonderful bakery right there on the corner.
Oh, yes. Oh, that you weren't allowed to go in. Supposed to go in. So, but again, the micromanagement. Some people were told to go in a group from time to time to patronize them and keep the relationship ameliorated.
I see. Right. Yeah. But you just couldn't walk in yourself. They just wanted to make sure that we were looking.
Now, most temple members weren't supposed to have any money to walk in.
Well, that's true. You probably had to go to the needs committee for that.
Yeah, right. So
I can go buy a slice of bean pie or something.
Right.
Or a fish sandwich. Oh gosh. So you were on that commission, basically that committee, having you go out and look for property. And then what other activities did you have?
Well, they varied through the years.
Did you mention that you had children somewhere, that you were taking care of children?
Well, in 1971, I married David Shular, David Richard Shular, who was originally from Montana, Twin Bridges, Montana, and who had come to California after a very traumatic end to a marriage, and who had planned to go as a student for ministerial practice to Star King Seminary.
I see. I see.
But who didn't go there for that. Mm-hmm. And he had a sister and brother-in-law in their family who lived in San Jose.
Okay.
And he was definitely an activist prior to his interest. His original interest in People's Temple was to help a woman who was blind.
Oh, how was that?
He brought her there, gave her a ride, and so forth.
So he brought her there for the healings.
Yes, and she also quit coming, but he continued.
Okay. So we talked about you and David having children that were brought to you.
Yes, it was sometime after we were married. I knew a lot of women from Oakland, Richmond. I wouldn't say San Rafael. There's another little community, but they would come. By this time, people met at the temple on Geary Boulevard for the bus.
Right. Okay.
If we were going to Redwood Valley. And there were a lot of women, and they would talk to me about different things. And one day I was shopping at a farmer's market at the Cow Palace. And I saw a woman that I recognized from the temple. And I said to her, "Oh, where's your little grandsons?" And she said, "Oh, where's your other little grandson?" She said, "He's in school. He was in kindergarten." And she had one in the basket. And I said to her, "Well, if you ever need any help, just call me. My husband will help you out."
That's sweet.
Well, 4 days later, she called and said that she had been to her doctor and she wasn't feeling well, and that she had a nice lunch packed, and she was going to get the kids, what she used to do, get the kids on the bus in Oakland, take them to the beach in San Francisco, but she just couldn't do it. And would we come over and take them? Well, when I told my husband, he was just like, "Oh, you get us into more mess." But we went. It was a Saturday, and we got them, and we took them to the beach, and then we took them to a restaurant. And then, I mean, I wouldn't even feel comfortable doing this in today's world. But then, I called and asked, "Can we just keep them until in the morning, and we'll give them to you at church?"
Okay.
And she thanked us and was fine with that. And when the little one woke up, they slept on the couch in the living room. The little one woke up, the first words out of his mouth were, "Where's my daddy?"
Oh. And who was he talking about?
So my husband was just smitten.
He's talking about David.
And yes. And we took him to church, and then the relationship grew and continued until such time. At that time, she was 72 or 73. And her doctor told her that because of her congenital heart failure, she would not be able to continue taking care of the children. And she asked us if we would take them. So all the arrangements were made through her then social worker.
Okay.
And we took them as our children we were licensed foster care providers.
All right, good. So you take on these 2 children. Now you've increased your family.
Well, I got a little ahead of myself, and I may tend to do this. And prior to that, we had been approached by a woman who had a tremendous close liaison with Jim. That's Leona Collier keep saying that, in San Francisco.
Okay.
And she was a San Francisco secretary. I think would be her title, official title. And she had contacted us and said, "There's a kid that's having a few problems that they don't want to stay in the valley. and they want to know if you will take him in to live with you, and until other arrangements are made. And that was Danny Curtin.
Mm.
And we did.
Mm-hmm.
He was before the boys.
Okay. So you had Danny Curtin there first.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I was still actually working. I wasn't doing the 5 Head Start centers. I was the director of one privately owned daycare center. And I put him in a school that was close to my work, and I forget the name of it, but he used to walk down past my work and come in, and I knew he was out of school and on his way home.
How old was Danny Curtin then?
15.
Okay, I remember Danny Curtin.
And that probably was 1963, 64, in that period.
All right, so you had Danny Curtin first, and then you decided to bring in the other 2 children.
Yes.
And so you were a licensed licensed foster care worker. Were there
Yeah.
any other children that were brought to you?
Over time, after we had the 2 boys, things did change for Danny, and he went back to the valley and lived on the ranch.
Okay.
Then that we were asked to take Curtis Buckley, which we did. And later we were asked to take, well, it wasn't a child. He had just turned 18, didn't really have any place to go. We were asked for Glenn Hennington to move in. And then later, Cassandra Minor, and she was 15. I think Curtis was 13 or 14 when he came. And there were we had Paul Pettit.
Okay.
Because his mother was a single mom. She had 2 children, was basically homeless, and she came, no place to go, stayed with us for a while. Her daughter was a 2-year-old that was sent to live with the Myrtles. And Anita slept on our couch for a while. But in the meantime, her son Paul integrated into our family, and it came close with our boys. So we kept him. We were never officially a commune.
Okay.
I wouldn't do it.
Why not? Why would you?
Why would I? Why would I? My ancestors worked for free. I wasn't going to do that. And my husband wasn't going to work and give them money I needed. No.
That's right. There you go. That's good.
Never.
That's good to know. Everybody wasn't complicit.
They knew that. I never had to tell Jim. I told Leona many times in many different ways that if anyone tried to force me to go communal, I would leave.
Okay. You stood your ground.
I wasn't. So I'm sure the word got to where it needed to be. But it wasn't something we believed in. Now, we did give money.
Right.
We supported all the children, all their food and clothing, all their school supplies.
So you did it on your own. No one helped you with those. With the cost of those.
No. Okay. Right. And David gave money. He would hold back a certain amount of money. My kids talked about it years later to, oh my God, all that money we would see Dad stuff in that envelope.
So you were givers.
He gave money.
But not giving everything, not 100%. You're already giving enough.
Absolutely not. And I sewed a lot.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I had a sewing machine. I sewed for Cassandra. It was one summer when we made the bus trip back east. And those gaucho pants were very popular. And I made her 3 pair of those. You know, they were loose and you could wear them a couple of days. I made several pairs of those. I mean, for different people.
Right. So you just had a good heart, still do. You were just really taking
Well,
care.
people have always been good to me.
Well, and you're giving it back. You've given it back. And so, what made you decide to leave? Because many people were intimidated, right? Because we signed blank pieces of paper so they could blackmail us into staying. What gave you and your husband David the courage to leave People's Temple, and why did you leave?
Well, I don't want to take credit that is not due. And I don't think it was so much about courage as it was about determination.
Okay. All right.
I was always observant.
Mhm.
And I did see and hear certain things that conflicted and negatively disrupted my own personal moral compass.
Would you like to go? Can you go into those reasons? Are you able to feel comfortable describing what those were?
Well, a lot of the beatings.
Mhm.
And also, I parented in conflict with my beliefs. I was much more harsh with my children than I ever would have been
Because of
if I had not been in that environment. And I realized that I was harsh because I was in a protective, defensive mode all the time.
Mhm.
When I learned about the blue-eyed monster,
Oh, yes.
are you familiar
Yes,
with that?
yes, ma'am. I was,
Where
yes,
the children put their finger and got an electric shock.
yes.
I was told I was not for that at
Mhm.
all. And I was terrified that my children would get it. I wasn't in favor of things like punish a child, make them scrub the public bathroom with a toothbrush.
Right. I'm so glad you're bringing this up. Yes.
There
Horrendous.
were, and in all honesty, I am not certain that much of this originated with Jim. We had some demented people in there.
That is so true. You're right.
And they were undercover. But he didn't disapprove of it.
Because it would have been.
He didn't put a stop to it.
Right.
And I had a certain amount of conflict about the ways in which I saw people's lives being governed.
Yes. Yes.
Controlled. I would say there was a time when I came to realize that people were getting stiffed.
And how did you recognize that? When did that come?
Well, when they signed over all their property,
right.
I think one of the things was when he talked a bit against marriage.
Mm.
And people who had been married for decades put their rings in the collection plate. I later learned of a woman who had a shop where all that stuff was taken.
In San Francisco?
Within the last 10 years, I have been contacted by an anonymous source that said that the woman who originally owned the shop had passed away, but she set all those wedding rings aside, unafraid, just not having the heart to sell them.
What?
I know that there was a warehouse on Fillmore Street in San Francisco with just loads and tons of antiques and valuables.
Right. And
so if you can just say, oh, it all happened one day, it was like reading a book. You go chapter by chapter and the plot unfolds. You get the setting and a lot right up front. but the plot unfolds as you progress through the book.
Right. Right.
So it was through living the experience that it unfolded.
Mm-hmm.
I would say after 2 years, I really was like, okay, I'm ready to be done with this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, probably in 73.
Okay, you were ready to go.
Oh,
Ready
yeah.
to leave.
But at that point in time, I had children who were dependent upon me and called me mommy.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have what it took to walk away
Well,
from that.
so you decided to leave, and what year was that?
I decided in
You and David?
76.
76. Okay.
In 76, it was definite. And we spent a long period of time planning and preparing.
All right.
And that was our first agreement. Nothing spontaneous, nothing rushed.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that held us is that my two original sons, when we got them, they were 2 years old and 4 years old in foster care. When we left, they were 9 years old and 11 years old.
Okay.
So it was about a 5-year period. At that time, California Department of Children's Services had a law that said if these children are in the custody of the state, the natural parent can contact them at any time, even if it's a postcard, one phone call, anytime within a year. They cannot be released for adoption.
Okay, so you had them for 5 years by then. So you were able.
So no, during that period of the 5 years, their biological mother made contact one time during the year.
Okay.
So they could not be released
Oh, goodness.
for adoption. As a result, I had some business contacts for Jim, and I knew that at that time we called them the Burton brothers, that were in state representatives, and so I came to a point where I decided to use those contacts that I had used for Jim for myself.
Good.
And they had made it possible for the city and county Department of Children's Services to put an early release on my sons. But what they did prior to that was they got the case to court.
Okay.
And the biological mother did not show up.
Okay.
So then the next step was we got early release.
Right.
So they were able to be moved as foster children to Ohio prior to and you have a 6-month waiting supervision period from the time you file. So they were able to change the supervision responsibility to my local county.
Amazing.
I worked very hard, and none of this could have been completely done by me because I was trying to keep things looking normal,
right,
maintaining my regular routine. But my tremendous support was Kay Frances Curry.
Really?
Kay Curry. She had been on the board. Her mother was Sammy, that made the pies and the greens and sold them.
Wow. Okay.
Do you remember
Yes.
Kay?
Yes. Yes.
We had a bond.
That's beautiful.
And an agreement. And of course, I didn't have any clothes. I just had, my greeters' uniforms and maybe a few pair of slacks. A couple, outfits that I would wear, like on I think to official business. I went to a lot of $100 plate dinners, political dinner, things like that.
Mhm. While you were in the
I-
temple.
oh,
Mhm.
for Jim.
For Jim.
Oh, yeah. So I did certain things. I had a few clothes, but I basically didn't have any clothes. And what she often did after work, she would go to Joseph Magnin
I remember.
place, and I can't think of the other one, but I think Macy's.
And I Magnin, maybe?
Oh, well, no,
Magnin,
I don't go to
Oh.
iMagnin. But she would go to us and go through the clearance racks, and then she would, go home and call me and say, I'm going to leave it because I was being watched.
Okay.
She said, I'm going to leave a package on your porch.
Okay.
And then I'd watch, and the car would pull off. I'd get the bag. She bought me clothes. I had clothes when I came here.
Wow. That's amazing.
And she did help me work my way through, when you had to take things, get them notarized and that. Yeah.
She's very instrumental in that. So I want to
Very.
that was a blessing. I want to go back to something. So you were saying that you were attending political dinners for Jim. I mean, in his
I
kind of
did
representing.
some.
And who would that have been? Willie Brown, maybe. There's types of.
Willie Brown, Moscone. I went to meet Rosalind Carter when she came. Let's see. Oh, I can't get the last name. Andy, the Black Congressman, Martin Luther King assistant.
Dimily? No, not Dimily.
Not. Oh, I met him I met him definitely in LA, Dimily.
So you were well trusted. You were well trusted.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
Why not?
I would say he wanted to put a certain face on the temple. And let's face it, there weren't a lot of college degreed, educated people that were joining up that were Black.
Okay.
That were African American. Now, certainly, in the leadership, the Caucasian leadership, yes. But Kay and I pretty much held the front of the line.
I see. So you were the persona of
when he wanted to put that face on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Supporting Black people.
Andrew Young.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. So how did you?
Yes.
How did you feel about that when you were being sent to dinners and representing?
Well, a lot of it was between 1971 and 1974, and I felt fine about it because we were at a very different phase.
True.
And we were still very much at the social justice phase. He did not, I can't tell you exactly when, but he was not micromanaging people's lives. The issue of communes became more widespread once they established the San Francisco Temple.
That's true.
Prior to that, people had independence in their lives. No planning commission and council was running people's lives, deciding who's going to live where and who's going to be in a relationship with whom and where people's children were going. Right. And I know one night, after service, which let out about 11:30 or 12, we would have planning commission on the stage.
Were you part of the planning commission?
Yes.
Okay. What did they talk about? Because it was very secretive.
Nonsense. I mean, a lot of it was managing people's lives.
So they would just bring people up, like bring someone, talk about someone and what they were doing and what they shouldn't be doing and what they
And
wanted them to do.
I know when I said no more.
Mm-hmm.
So that night when I stood up and screamed, the second afterwards, it was like, I didn't fear for my life, but I knew I had endangered my life greatly.
Right. Because you were not submitted, you were not in agreement, and you spoke up.
Oh,
Many,
people jumped up and started screaming at me and coming toward me. And Jim told them, wait a minute, wait, just wait, let's see what this is. And everybody sat down and got quiet. And then, but because here's what happened. When they started screaming and hollering and coming at me, David stood up and threw his chair.
Okay, good.
And said, hey, just hold on here.
He's protecting his wife.
And they were just going crazy. And then Jim made everybody sit down and be quiet.
So you were the sign of resistance. You were not going
I only had one way out, and I took it. I started crying.
Okay. Well, you know what to do.
well, I was tired.
Of course.
You know, it was probably about 5 o'clock in the morning, and I was exhausted.
You had enough. That was enough.
That was
enough. What else happened on the Planning Commission that really disturbs you?
Well, let me kind of change your question a little bit, not so much what disturbed me, because there wasn't too much disturbing. It was annoying. It was that, why are we here? Why are we losing our sleep and wasting time over what often just felt like gossip sessions?
I see.
I don't recall any critical decisions being made, nothing about purchases, nothing about, there was little to no talk about the development of Jonestown.
I see.
It seemed very petty, would be the word I would use. Sometimes, depending on what was going on, it would seem like hours for Jim to rant about things that he was angry about. Occasionally, they would, I would say there would be verbal and physical attacks on people who were on the Planning Commission.
For what reason?
Well,
can you give me an example of?
I can't really say that I know for sure. It just seemed very pointless. I think once Phyllis Houston got beat up about something having to do with, a lot was always dealing with what happened in communes.
I see.
Disagreements in communes. The other factor was there was just an extremely high focus on people and their social, pseudo-romantic sexual relationships. You remember, I've thought about this later after we talked about this, Peter Witherspoon and Mary Witherspoon.
I remember them.
Apparently there was some question. They never spelled it out. Some who already knew about it knew, but others sitting there didn't know all the details, but it had something to do with perhaps, allegedly or whatever, Peter making an sexual approach to a youth.
Okay.
And apparently, I'd never heard of this. They beat him with a rubber hose.
Oh, goodness. So you didn't witness that, did you?
No, I didn't see that. They discussed it. Apparently his genitals were quite swollen.
So
they discussed whether he should get additional medical care.
So they didn't talk about turning him into the police or anything, because that sounds like assault.
Oh no.
None of that. He was disciplined, but the police were not called. There was no investigation.
Oh, no, they never would seek any outside intervention.
What happened to the child? Do you remember?
I don't know who the child
Mhm.
was or what happened. And
Mhm.
that's what I meant when I said that I don't recall things being resolved
I
or
see.
fully discussed. There was
Mhm.
just a lot of gossipy type stuff.
And so
Petty.
Patty. So you mentioned about people getting beat on the planning commission
Well,
physically.
they could be.
Mhm.
I do recall Phyllis Houston.
Was she was physically assaulted
Yes.
by more than one person or just one person?
Oh no. People. It was like a spontaneous thing where I think people moved in on her. And
And
I
Jim
just
just
don't really recall what the issue was.
and so Jim
But
just Jim's
I do recall feeling quite stunned. She made no effort to fight back. Of that
oh,
whole thing, that's what stood out more for me than anything.
so she's just submitted to the beating to the
Oh yeah,
assault.
yeah.
Do you think she was when I hear these stories, it's almost as if they were so engulfed with fear. And the other thought is maybe they thought they deserved it because I feel like Jim stripped us so much of our dignity and our, love for ourselves that people just submitted to this type of behavior.
Well, I think also it was part of the survival mode. You know, it's kind of like if somebody's standing on you with a gun pointed at you, you're not likely to start cursing them out and run for them.
That's true.
It's kind of like you'd already know that it's all tilted against you.
So they just give up. There's no
I
fight in
think
them.
it's succumb. Yes.
Yeah, they succumb to it. Was there any sexual abuse that you saw going
I didn't,
happening?
I never
That's
saw any sexual abuse.
that's good. So Jim would just sit there and I could see his face. He appeared to be enjoying this type of.
Oh, yeah, he enjoyed it.
Mhm, mhm.
Or silently sanctioned.
Okay.
He
Because
sanctioned it. Uh-huh.
right, because
And
if he
and,
did, mhm.
and there were certain people that, well, I Linda Amos stands out in my mind a lot. She may have been the first one. They would start, let's say, 0 to 100. It's like zero. It's just like questioning them, and then the questions became more intense and intimidating, and then the answer would be denied, like, oh, you didn't say that, you didn't do that. It's kind of, the kind of thing that took what they said, turned it back against them, accused them of lying about everything, and then the crescendo built. Instead of just sitting there addressing the standing person, someone would get on their feet and get up in their face. And then, it was gradual, and then somebody would hit, then others would hit. And
Mhm.
the one, I know there were others, I just don't remember them.
Well, that's a
But
lot.
I know that I just remember Phyllis Houston.
She really stood out in your mind.
Yeah,
Now, was this before her husband passed? Do you remember?
I don't know.
Hmm. So basically, the planning commission was a gripe section, just complaining about.
It was a gripe session, small disagreements. Somebody who had the top bunk thought they wanted the bottom one, and that sort of thing.
Okay.
But
So,
not the people on the commission, people who had brought issues to counselors, commissioners, whatever you want to call it.
but I wonder why those weren't just resolved in a smaller group, right? Those types of issues.
Yeah. Other things that group was too big for anything significant.
How many people do you think made
Oh
up the
gosh, it
planning commission?
varied. It varied. It grew. There, maybe at the top point, I would say there were maybe 100.
Really?
Maybe not 100, maybe 80,
Mhm.
80 to 100.
And how were you chosen to be on the planning commission? What was that process?
Jim, all you know, his father would like you to sit on the planning commission.
Did you ever see my mother on the planning commission?
No, I don't recall.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. Okay. So it was just a personal invite from him.
Well, now let me just share this with you because I think this speaks to part of your motivation for doing this podcast. There were very few African Americans on the planning commission.
I was going to ask you that. Okay.
Leona Collier,
Mm-hmm.
Alice Ingram,
Mm-hmm.
Rose Shelton,
Mm-hmm.
myself, I think later Lee Ingram.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he was on before me or after. I don't, at that time, his name, Peter Holmes.
Okay, I remember Peter Holmes.
Later.
Mm-hmm. What about Johnny Brown?
Oh, yeah.
For sure. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, of course, it was still not. It still didn't match the. It still didn't match the membership. It's still white leadership, and a few of you on the planning
Right.
commission. And so, when you were they were getting the clothes ready for you to get ready to leave. You were getting ready to make and the children now are yours, which was, I'm so glad that happened for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so how did you leave though? How did you?
Well, we had before that, I mean, just a little interim. Part of the preparation was knowing that I couldn't take all those children.
Okay.
Couldn't. And knowing without a shadow of a doubt that I could not take Dana Lewis.
Dana Lewis?
Dana Lewis, Chris Lewis's child.
Okay.
I knew I couldn't take her.
Mm-hmm.
And there was nothing for me to do but turn her in, that I couldn't keep her.
How old was she then? Do you remember?
I think 6.
Okay. So Chris Lewis and his wife, I can't remember her name. So he was very active in the church, wasn't he, Chris Lewis?
Oh, he was a problem. He was a fringe problem.
Mm-hmm. When you say that, what do you mean? Because he did have a reputation.
Well, he was in and he was out. He was out and he was in. He got, he would get in legal trouble for things that had nothing to do with the church.
Okay.
But the church backed him. And they, they would have groups write letters or show up for a hearing or that kind of thing. But from what I understand, he was a young man, a gangbanger, maybe a drug dealer, maybe a drug addict, whatever. He was living, thug life. And then his mother came and she sought help for him. Okay. And he got close to Jim.
Mm-hmm. Do you think he was ever an enforcer?
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the big part that it's like I already knew, but if I didn't know, I knew. When I went the soft way. I didn't go to council or write a letter to Jim. I told Leona, okay, that I'm not going to be able to continue to keep Dana. Okay. She said, What do you mean? She sees you as her mother. Mm-hmm. I said, I'm aware of that. Alice Ingram always said, well, you made this little girl just like you.
Hmm.
I'm aware of what people see, think, and feel. Let me just say this to you. It was breaking my heart.
I know it was.
When they brought her to me, she had eczema all over her body, except in the palms of her hands and the soles of her feet. Thick scabs, even in her head.
Oh, gosh.
I took care of her. I worked on her. When she left me, her skin was clear as mine.
Oh, listen.
And I'm telling you, she was chaotic. Of course, she was chaotic, jumping around, scratching, and talking fast. She was just such a lovely little intelligent girl. And I did not want to. I didn't know what they would do with her.
Okay.
But I knew if I took her, it was no. I was just dead meat.
Yeah, you couldn't do it. You couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it. So when the word finally goes around, goes up through the ranks, whatever, and they tell Chris, it was a Friday night. I used to have in my house called Free Friday. And that means that, after school, straighten up your room a little bit, whatever. But everybody gets an early bath and they get their hair washed, all that, and get jammies on. And I put a big blanket or cover on the living room floor. And then they eat there, watch TV. It's just, that's just a little camp spot.
Right.
Well, everybody was all ready except Dana, and I had washed her hair. Of course, the boys quit, and I washed her hair, and I was getting ready to comb it. I was combing it out, and Chris called me on the phone, and he was screaming and hollering and screaming, and called me everything but a child of God. That now she think you her mama and you're going to get rid of her.
Well,
and I hung up. It had just gotten dark. I'd say maybe 6:30. And I knew David would be coming home soon. And Glenn and Juanita lived, that little house behind mine? I don't know if you knew.
No, ma'am.
But it's just you go out the back door and a few steps and then up their steps. There was a cottage back there.
Okay.
Anyway, they were just family to me. And so I called and said, come here, come quick, come through the back door. The back door was always unlocked. And they ran up, and I said, and that's when my daughter was about, I don't know how old she was, 9 months, 10 months. But I said, take the baby. I had them to take all the kids in their pajamas, run.
Oh, wow.
A few seconds later, we'll sit back down doing her hair. A few seconds later, bam, bam, bam on the door.
Chris.
I was saying, oh God, I wish David had gotten it. It was Chris. The first thing I saw was the gun.
Really?
He had a gun. I'll never forget looking at that gun in his hand. It had a wooden handle, but you know how they have the wooden handle or a pearl handle, whatever, has like screws in it to hold it on.
Really?
Right by the screw, the part of the wood was cracked off of the gun. Wow. It was like a little Saturday night special, And he pointed that gun at me. And Dana was still sitting on the floor in front of the chair where I had been doing her hair, and I didn't sit down.
Okay.
I started to sit down, but then I got up and went around behind the chair.
Okay.
I thought if he shoots, I'm going to drop to the floor.
Right.
Well, we had bay windows, and I was by the one that would be facing it to the left. And by the time my back was pressing so hard against that glass, I thought it was going to break.
Wow.
I mean, if I'd fall, it was up over the garage, so if I'd fallen out, I would have gone to the
Yeah,
ground.
you would have hurt yourself. So where was Dana?
And he was holding the gun, pointing the gun at me, screaming, hollering. He had a guy with him. I never knew this guy, never saw him before, never saw him since. The guy just kept saying, I'm going to pop you, bitch.
What?
And the guy just kept saying, man, don't do it. And Dana started screaming,
Oh.
Daddy, no, Daddy, don't shoot my mama, Daddy.
Oh no.
And that just infuriated him. He said, you see, she calling you her mama. And I'll be 100% honest with you. I have run this through my head, I don't know, probably hundreds of times. I really don't know what happened next.
Okay, you were just blacked out.
I don't know. I remember pressing against and seeing David pull up and get out of the car.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure the door was open. We didn't have storm door or anything like that. I think the door was left open. I don't know to this day. I don't know what happened. I just know that I kept pressing my back against the glass. It didn't break. Somehow he left.
Did you ever see him again?
I don't recall ever seeing him ever again after that.
So poor Dana, she's screaming because she's scared. And
She's screaming.
And you've got a gun on you. With who's, and the person holding that is already a radical anyway. We know that he has a temper.
I think he was high.
You think so?
I thought that one at the time.
And so David came in.
But the guy really saved my life. Whoever he was, he just kept saying, "Man, don't do that. Don't do that shit, man. Don't do that." You know, this is emotional.
I know it's emotional because I can't even believe that you went through this. And so,
yeah.
So where's the baby? So the baby's mama, who was the baby's mother?
I saw her one time from a distance. And it was like an apartment on Divisadero Street. She was up the steps. And then I had heard that she and Chris were heroin addicts.
Okay.
And that's all I know.
That's probably why poor Dana came to you in the condition that she did. She was totally neglected.
And then his mother had her, I guess, from a baby and had been taking care of her. But his mother was in bad shape.
So
she could barely take care of herself.
Right.
And so when his sister got involved and they had to give the baby up, I think the sister kept her for a while. Do you remember Chris's sister?
I don't remember his sister.
I used to know her name. She had 2 or 3 sons. They didn't die over there. And she was from LA.
Okay. I don't remember.
You know, there were a lot of people that were on the periphery. They had someone way in. They were kind of in and out. And then, boom, they just are like, never happened. Don't know nothing about it.
So you don't remember what happened after your husband came home? After you saw those
I don't remember.
You must have blocked it out. The mind will do that.
I just remembered that gun handle.
Petrified. That's terrifying.
Yeah. It was an old gun, raggedy gun. The handle the wood was cracked off.
But you remember that gun.
It sounds absolutely ridiculous, but I think I was feeling like, oh God, he gonna shoot me with this old gun.
You could have got
I mean, it was something bizarre like that. Yeah.
How offensive is that? You can't even get it. Oh goodness. Oh gosh, I didn't know that. So when you
Anyway, they took her. They never took her. They never placed her anywhere else.
okay.
He had found out that they were going to send her over to Guyana, and that's what had him upset. He did not want her to go
I
over
see.
there,
I see.
and he did not want her to be separated from me. Well, the way they did it was in those days, you go to the airport, you walk up and buy a ticket.
That's right. No search, no nothing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they told us when and where to be.
Mm-hmm.
And we walked up, bought the ticket. They explicitly told me, wrap her in a blanket and carry her.
Okay.
I can't remember if we bought the ticket.
Where were you?
No.
Where were you going?
I think she was going to Miami or wherever.
Okay. So you were taking her to Miami.
No, we just put her on the plane.
Okay, you put her on the plane in San Francisco?
But they bought the ticket because they had bought so many juvenile tickets and so many adult tickets.
Okay.
And they had bought a cheap ticket for her.
Okay.
So we had like under 5.
Mm-hmm. And she was how old? She was older.
6.
Okay. So you were departing the San Francisco. You were taking her to the San Francisco airport.
Taking her to the San Francisco and put her on the plane.
Who did you meet there to grab her?
I don't remember.
But somebody you handed her over somebody else.
I was just, it was so emotional for me. I was so focused on, you could go to the seat on the plane with them.
You could walk them on the plane.
And you could put them in her seat.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember who else was going on that trip. It's all blocked out. But I remember feeling so, in critical situations, sometimes it's little things like I was so annoyed, David, quit dragging the blanket. It was a big blanket and it kept falling down and he kept saying, well, her feet are hanging down. I said, well, and she was looking at us, bless her heart. But I wanted the blanket up around her. Just crazy stuff. And the tip of the blanket kept falling. And then, what I really wanted was to see her walking and being,
Right.
Oh, it was just awful.
I know.
It was just awful. And soon as we left her on the plane, I just cried and cried and cried because
I know.
I knew she was never going to see me again.
Right.
But I lied. I said, I don't know when, but we'll be there.
Well,
she didn't want to go without me.
I know that.
It was awful.
Very difficult for you.
The one thing that gave me some solace is that Cassandra Minor had been reared in the home with Dana. And I didn't know she was over there.
Okay.
But looking back on it, I know that she probably found solace when she saw Cassandra.
Right, because she was familiar. That was like family, a sister to her.
Yes, like sister. Yes.
Well, thank goodness for that.
Yeah. Oh, I'm talking about death.
I know.
I keep going into this thing.
I know.
Yeah.
So,
well,
you made a decision. You and David made a decision. You have your other 2 children. So how did you actually leave? How did you? Because they were watching you.
Well, our plan, we started sending money. We sent money to my sister to hold for us. And we bought a car and hid it. He spent a lot of time out there at the bus company. And all he had to do is tell the guy, whatever, forget his name. And he just parked it out there. He bought I think it was like a Ford station wagon.
And so he parked. So you bought the car. He parked it at his job. So you're hiding a car. you're sending money back to Ohio, your sister,
Right.
and then how?
Oh, no, no. No, she wasn't in Ohio. At that point, she was in Tennessee, Memphis.
Okay, all right. So you're planning. You're making you're preparing for this
And
move.
I'm packing up stuff
Mhm.
and putting the boxes in the closet
Mhm.
behind clothes,
Okay.
stacking boxes.
And still going to church, still going to the temple for meetings.
Yes.
So you're
I didn't want to.
so you had to keep you had to put you could not share anything that was going on within you. I know that was
Nothing.
difficult. Difficult.
Very. And because they were noticing a change in me, I was getting besieged by things like Marceline came to my house one time. Of course, didn't call, they just
Showed
opened
up.
the door and there she stood. And different little committees would show up. Like the day they just brought people, different ones.
Were there people that were on the planning commission that they brought?
They wanted to know, like Marcia wanted to know if I had been diagnosed with any type of illness that I didn't want to talk about.
Really?
They knew something was wrong. Something was different. I found it so difficult to smile.
Okay, right.
I found it to clap. Cheering, I couldn't do it.
You didn't want to be there. You already knew. Your mind was made up to go.
I was just there in body only. And it was tough.
I understand.
And I just and we were waiting for paperwork on the boys.
Okay, that still hadn't come. That still hadn't arrived.
Waiting for the court date. Waiting.
Yeah. And waiting and ready to go, but couldn't go because you still had all these other things you had to take care of.
And we're talking about almost 2 years.
2 years of preparation?
Almost.
That's hard.
Well, I mean, getting things lined up. I don't remember. I think Dana left. Oh, I don't remember. It was within the year.
Okay.
But it was earlier in the year.
So it took you 2 years to prepare.
From initial plan. And because we talked a lot, Kay and I talked for months and plans and looking at the system, how it worked, how to get the children free for adoption, who to talk to first. We worked on the plan.
Right. And so when did you finally make the move?
We made the move in April of 1977. We moved. That's when we made the move. And so we left.
I remember we spoke and you said there was a couple people came by the house and you thought they were recording you.
Yeah.
So they were literally they were really concerned that you were getting ready to leave. They sensed that.
I don't think it ever dawned on them that I was getting ready to leave.
Oh, good. They just.
I don't think until much later, and I will tell you, it was just a matter of months. But they had so much going on. See, I left right about the time that the New West article came out.
Okay.
Or just before it.
Okay.
But I was there. Remember when he got arrested for trying to pick somebody up in a men's restroom?
Yes. I remember that.
I was there then.
Okay. I remember that.
I'm ready to slap the shit out of him.
Right. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. But we're just constantly disciplined for little things, and he's out there soliciting sex from undercover cop.
I know, yeah. And you see, well, I knew, the drugs had taken over. I mean, that's drug behavior. Right.
So was there a point that you thought he was on drugs? before, the art, new art, before the.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Early on, I would say probably 1974.
Okay.
Yeah. He offered me a pill.
What kind of pill did he offer you, Miss Janet?
I don't know what it was. It was a little pink pill.
Hmm.
I said, oh, no, I'm fine. We'd been up all night. And then, we'd gone from service to all night on the commission. Then it was about 7 o'clock in the morning, still there. And we were getting ready to do a radio interview.
And he's pushing.
And he
Probably.
I wasn't. And I'll just throw this in. My sleep patterns are disrupted to this day.
All right, I'm sure. I wouldn't doubt that. So all the chaos was going on because the New West article was coming out. So that so that was a distraction from them really.
And you see, almost a week before, David and I discussed everything. So I remember us debating about getting the U-Haul truck.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, we were scared to death about every penny. We didn't have hardly any money.
Mm-hmm.
And then not to be 30 something years old, I was 37
mm-hmm.
when we moved here and 3 kids.
Mm-hmm.
So, I hadn't worked in 10 years.
Okay.
So I said, I didn't want him he wanted to get the U-Haul a week ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to no, just 3 days is enough. We discussed every detail,
All right.
I wanted 2 days. That I think we finally did go to he put in a reservation for it. He worried the people to death because he kept saying, well, what if we can't get the fucking thing? I'm like, well, we'll get it.
Right.
Either way, about 2 days, but we parked it around the corner.
From where you lived?
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was on Lion Street.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
That was in the Western Addition, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think he said he went in, he knocked on the door, he talked to the people and said he had an emergency and he had to leave his truck there.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said, do you usually park here? He didn't want any trouble.
Right.
No, call the police. This truck is sitting out here for 3 days, whatever. So, yeah. So and then I can't remember whether he did or I did. I think one of us, I think it was him, went over and watched. And when they pulled the buses out on Friday night, going to LA, he came back, he said, they're gone. He said he followed them to the freeway.
Okay.
They're gone.
Okay.
And that's when he backed the truck up to the house door and we started loading. And we had help. We had Glenn and Juanita.
Okay.
And my little baby boys, they just worked all night long. And we left certain things. We like a couch and, beds and things we left.
Right.
And then we brought that washing machine.
That washing machine carried its story.
But it was starting to get there because we had to load the truck and the new station wagon.
Oh my gosh.
And we had another older truck, but he was towing that with the U-Haul.
Okay. So you put the station wagon inside the U-Haul?
No.
Okay.
Well, the old truck I had, he towed it with the U-Haul truck.
Okay. All right.
But we put stuff in there too.
Okay.
The dog and house plants. I had the nerve to bring house plants.
Well, they're part of family too.
I put house plants and the dog and certain things, kids' toys and then I drove the new station wagon.
Okay.
And then all the kids rode with me except one of the boys. The boy switched off riding in the truck with him.
Okay.
But that morning when we were loading, it got to be daylight. The sun came out about 6:30. And I told him, I said, We got to wrap it up and get on the road.
Right.
The Lewises lived one door over from us. And her mother-in-law was there. A lot of them died over there.
Okay. So she lived two doors down. They lived.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think they had about 6 or 7 kids. Well, honey, all of them, they were stacking up, looking out the window, smiling and waving. I said, they think we're going over.
Mm,
They think we're leaving.
right. To go
Going over.
going over to Guyana.
And I told the kids, wave, just wave and smile.
Mhm. Wow.
I've always felt bad about that, but I wasn't about to go knock on the door and say we're leaving.
No, you couldn't do that.
Couldn't do that.
I could feel the anxiety you were having, trying to get out of there without anybody seeing you, not knowing who's going to turn the corner.
Right.
Who was going to show up
I
unexpectedly.
know.
Mm-hmm.
I know. There was a lot of anxiety in a lot of different areas because we didn't know what they would do if they got desperate enough. And then my husband had a gun at that point.
Good. So
Nothing else to do.
right, because you made up your mind and you were on the way.
Yeah.
So when you hit the freeway,
So
go ahead.
we drove across country, but we had it all mapped out. Mm-hmm.
And so how long did it take you to go cross country?
Oh, just a little less than a week.
Okay.
About a week. We took our time.
And so back then they didn't have cell phones, thank goodness, when you think about it, right?
No,
Because
cell phone.
they couldn't track you.
No.
There's no way to track you.
But I'll tell you what they did do.
Mhm.
Glenn kept going to service after we left.
Okay.
I told him,
Mhm.
you don't have to go to everyone, but they announced in one service, the Shulers have left and they went to Dayton, Ohio.
Okay.
I know why they thought that,
Mhm.
because we live about 27, where David worked, it would say maybe 32 miles from where we lived.
Okay.
And B. Morton, Orsott,
Yes, I remember.
she worked for the IRS.
She sure did.
She could see where he was getting paid from. So they thought we were in Dayton because he worked south of Dayton.
Mm-hmm.
But we lived like 30-something miles from there.
And that is against the law to go into IRS files and then report where somebody is. That's what people were willing to do.
Yes. She found out where he was getting paid from. He was getting paid in Dayton, Ohio.
But that's not where you lived. That's not where you lived. So the scent was null and void. They couldn't track you, but had you been in Dayton, Ohio, and I bet I wonder if anybody ever showed up at his job, ever came out there and looked for you. Do you think so?
He doesn't have any knowledge of that ever happening. Now, what we do know is that Pinky, the boy's biological great-grandmother that we got them from.
Mm-hmm. Pinky.
She still had her home in Oakland.
Mm-hmm.
They would go to her house at night, take all of her trash cans, get on their hands and knees with flashlights, dump everything out on the front porch. She had a big front porch, and go through her. They were looking for a letter.
They were looking for you.
I never wrote her not one time after we left.
Okay. They don't. Yeah. Don't leave. That is. Do not leave People's Temple. But you did. And so when you made it to Ohio, so there's no other contact with People's Temple at all after that. That was it.
No, my kids. We lived on not a cul-de-sac, but it was like a track.
Mm-hmm.
You pull in and you can go right or left, but you end up back at where your entrance and exit was the same thing.
Okay.
And they had to walk up there and stand at the corner to wait for the school bus. And I used to tell them, if you see anyone you know from People's Temple, do not get in the car with them.
Okay, good.
Turn around and run home. I used to tell them to run up on the porch, show the lady on the corner, but she got a job and started going to work. So, yeah, just run home, and then or run across the street to the house across the street, whatever. But that was it.
Did any of the children ever question why you left? Did you have to tell them certain? I know you told them if anyone from People's Temple, sees them or tries to, but did you explain anything else to them why you had moved?
I don't remember that part of that. I mean, not when they were young,
Right.
But they were happy.
I know they were free. They got to be children.
Well, even sitting in all those long meetings.
That's what I mean. That's what, yeah.
And sitting on the bus for hours.
Right.
And then, when they took certain trips, they didn't, in hot summer, going all the way to Texas, they didn't have water.
Right. Sleeping in the luggage rack, sleeping on the floor.
Oh, I slept in them
sleeping underneath the bus.
Which was
dangerous.
Many times.
So they had freedom for once.
Yeah.
Did you see them? Could you just see them blossom? Could you see the change?
Yes. Oh, yes.
So you gave them a life that they definitely wouldn't have had in People's Temple, your children.
Oh, right.
You and David had gone through the beginning of your journey in People's Temple to now. And it's a powerful story of love all around, because I don't hear a lot of these stories. I'm sure they're out there, but you had an amazing life after People's Temple. You were able to adjust, still working on your sleep, of course, but what would you say? I'm so glad for you. I'm so glad that you and David had, and the children had a life together outside of People's Temple. I'm glad about that. I'm happy about that, because so many didn't. So many didn't make the choice to leave.
Never had it.
Yeah, they never had the opportunity. And so, what would you say to people? Did you consider People's Temple a cult? Would you consider it a cult now, or would there be something else you would call it?
I would definitely say it definitely was a cult.
And
that it was managed. He functioned like a cult leader.
Exactly. And so we are taught that I say that he systematically targeted the Black community for the sheer, that was his target. That was his grift. But as we move forward in this interview, is there anything else any pearls of wisdom that you'd like to provide our listeners? How not to join a cult, how to manage, how to get through, anything that you have that you want to share, anything else that you want to share that's on your heart?
Well, I would say that given the nature of the society that we live in, giving the impact of classism and racism, those are two big isms in America that have on people's lives, the average American. Many are not aware of the influence that they're struggling with. Getting to the American dream can seem impossible. I think that what we have now is that political division and religion are the two biggest factors and forces influencing the average American in a way that, let's say, hippieism and independent organic living and cults and political parties did in the 60s. We're in a period now where I think people have to be very selective about what they put their allegiance to. And I know that we're also in a period where people think they have to like choose sides or pick one doctrine or the other. But my view is our way of life causes people to have a personal identity crisis that that disrupts their bearings in life. And our child rearing gears people toward fantasy as opposed to reality. I see in the white community and certain communities, you know, the focus on religious beliefs and, you know, what, a woman's role. I think this girl they have out there now as the Speaker of the House. It's not Speaker of the House. Communications director.
Oh, at the White House?
It's frightening. She's tragic.
That's true. She
Just
is.
He exemplifies everything that I think is dangerous.
And knowing.
And so, go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
And so, yes, I think that there is still a possibility for people to become attracted to and join cults. And that I think that Trumpism and MAGAism is a cult. I see cultish behavior in these people. The inability to believe anything bad about him. Now, in that regard, I don't think people in People's Temple were as oblivious and ignorant to the facts about Jim. I think they knew, but they went along with it anyway. Some say they just really didn't know. I don't know. But in any experience in life that you find difficult and troublesome, heartbreaking or disruptive, I think you have to view it as an arrow. You don't let the arrow go through you. As possible as it may seem, you go through it.
I like that. You go through it.
And there's another thing that I often stressed with my kids. It's like an old unknown, the source of it is unknown, but it's like I was distraught and I was feeling weak. And the feeling came to me, you can't get through this storm. But a voice within me rose up and a knowing was ever present. And I said, I am the storm.
I love that.
This week on the Black Jonestown podcast, we pause to honor the life and legacy of Deanna Wilkinson.
Welcome to Black Jonestown. In this episode, we remember Deanna K. Wilkinson, sometimes known as Deanna Wilkerson. She was one of People's Temple's brightest lights, a singer, a teacher, a mother, and a revolutionary voice. Her friends called her the Aretha Franklin of Jonestown. Today, we bring her story to life through narration, testimony, and her own recorded performances. Deanna was born October 19, 1950 in Cook County, Illinois. Her childhood was not easy. As a girl, she was badly burned in a scalding accident. Survivors say that pain stayed with her and shaped the depth of her voice.
She carried the kind of pain you could hear when she sang, but instead of letting it crush her, she turned it into beauty.
Music was her salvation. By the early 1970s, she had joined People's Temple, drawn to its message of equality and community. She soon became a fixture in the Temple Choir and later, its Guyana Band. Deanna's voice wasn't just entertainment, it was prophecy. This was not pop music. It was testimony. Her songs carried the weight of betrayal, injustice, and a longing for something new.
She could take a song and make it sound like she was singing straight from her soul. It was like she was giving us strength.
In the Temple's California services, she sang with the choir, led gospel renditions, and even filled in as pianist when needed. Jim Jones himself often singled her out, calling her music prophetic, revolutionary. In February 1978, Deanna traveled to Jonestown. She took up practical work as a diesel mechanic, but her true gift remained her music. At night, under the pavilion's lights, her voice would soar through the rainforest. This was an adaptation of You Are So Beautiful, but in Jonestown, the words were transformed into a hymn for their new home. For many, Deanna's performance embodied the dream of paradise.
When she sang Guyana is so beautiful, we believed it. For that moment, the jungle didn't feel so harsh. It felt like home.
In Jonestown, Deanna was more than a performer. She was also a mother figure and partner. She adopted a young boy, renaming him Jelani Wilkerson, and she found love with Loretta Cordell, another musician in the Temple.
Deanna was someone who gave love freely. She mothered. She partnered. She sang. She made Jonestown feel like family.
You will find you so
songs weren't just about love between people, they were about belonging to something bigger, a movement, a community, a vision of equality. But as 1978 wore on, Jonestown grew more isolated, more tense. Deanna, like others, continued to sing. Her music gave people hope, even as conditions worsened. Then came November 18th, 1978. In the chaos of that day, Deanna's voice was silenced. She was just 28 years old.
When she sang, it felt like the world stopped. When she died, it felt like the music of Jonestown stopped too.
Deanna K. Wilkinson left behind no memoir, no long writings, but she left her voice. On tape, on film, and in the memories of those who loved her. She sang with the power of a survivor, a teacher, a revolutionary. Her music was hope. Her music was resistance. Today, when we listen to those recordings, we don't just hear the past. We hear the courage of a young woman who turned pain into art. This has been Black Jonestown. Thank you for listening. Join us next time as we continue to uncover the voices and lives behind the headlines.
They say